The first time Commander Alira set foot on Earth, she found it overwhelmingly alive. The scent of grass, the warmth of sunlight filtering through clouds, the hum of unseen insects. It was unlike anything on her home world, Zephyra, a place of glass cities and sterile winds. She was an emissary, sent by the Zephyran Council to study human culture after centuries of distance. Her people were advanced, biologically engineered to survive without emotional distractions, their evolution favoring logic, intellect, and precision. Humans fascinated them. Unpredictable, emotional, wildly resilient creatures who had spread into the stars with reckless determination. But Alira's first encounter with something truly human didn't happen in a laboratory or a conference room. It happened on a patch of open land surrounded by wooden fences, under a sky wide enough to swallow thought. The place was called Ashford Ranch, somewhere in the old American plains. Her guide, Captain Michael Hayes, was a human pilot assigned to accompany her during her 2-month cultural immersion. He was tall, rugged, with sun-browned skin and eyes the color of dust storms, quiet, patient, and endlessly amused by her curiosity. "This," he said, pointing toward the field where several four-legged creatures grazed, "is a horse." Alira tilted her head, silver hair gleaming under the sunlight. "Organic transport units," she murmured, activating her neural recorder. "Four-limbed, herbivorous, high endurance. Humans once relied on these creatures for travel." Mike chuckled. "We didn't rely on them. We loved them." "Love," she repeated, tasting the word like a foreign element. "What functional advantage does that emotion provide?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he whistled, and one of the horses, a chestnut mare, lifted her head and trotted toward him. Mike stroked the creature's mane gently, and it leaned into his touch with something almost like affection. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "love doesn't need an advantage." Alira watched in silence. Her people had no animals. They had no companionship that wasn't transactional or engineered. The concept of forming a bond with a beast of burden was irrational to her. Yet she couldn't look away. When Mike offered her the reins and asked, "Want to try riding?" Alira hesitated. "I am not designed for balance, coordination, muscle control," he interrupted with a grin. "You've got those. What you don't have is trust." That word struck her harder than she expected. Middle. The horse was taller than she imagined, muscles shifting beneath its skin like liquid machinery. Mike adjusted the saddle straps while Alira stood rigidly, her pale hands twitching with restrained tension. "She can feel your nerves," he said, glancing up. "They're sensitive creatures. You have to believe she'll carry you." Alira blinked. "Believe? I am not equipped for faith." Mike smirked. "Then think of it as a partnership. You both have roles to play." He helped her mount, guiding her hands to the reins. The horse shifted, and for the first time in her life, Alira felt something she had no control over, a living creature's heartbeat beneath her. It wasn't data or holographs or digital sensations. It was warmth, strength, and trust wrapped into motion. When the horse took its first step, her pulse spiked. Every muscle in her body reacted instinctively to maintain equilibrium. "I am unsteady," she said through clenched teeth. "That's the point," Mike replied, walking beside her. "You don't have to be in control all the time." The rhythm of the horse's movement began to sync with her breathing. Slowly, the fear dissolved, replaced by something else, a strange, expanding sensation in her chest. She realized she was smiling. For the next hour, they rode across the open plain. The wind tangled her hair, sunlight warmed her pale skin, and for once, the noise in her analytical mind went quiet. The constant hum of logic gave way to something beautifully irrational. Joy. When they finally stopped by a stream, Alira dismounted with a shaky laugh. The horse snorted softly, nudging her shoulder. "She acknowledges you," Mike said. "That means she likes you." Alira turned, studying the animal. "She likes me?" "Yeah," he said, filling a canteen with water. "Humans call it bonding." Alira crouched beside the mare, tracing her hand along the creature's neck. "On Zephyra," she said softly, "we were taught that connection is a weakness, that to rely on others, emotionally or physically, diminishes purpose." Mike looked at her thoughtfully. "Then maybe that's why your people can't feel what this is." She met his gaze. "And what is this, Captain Hayes?" He smiled faintly. "It's what makes us human." That night, they sat by the campfire as stars shimmered above, thousands of suns, silent witnesses to their conversation. Alira's voice was quiet. "I have studied your wars, your art, your history. Humans destroy and rebuild endlessly. You act without logic. You attach emotion to everything, objects, memories, even creatures. Why?" "Because that's how we find meaning," he replied. "Logic builds civilizations. Emotion gives them a reason to exist." Alira stared at the flickering flames. "On Zephyra, children are created in birthing chambers. They are trained, assigned, and measured. No family, no love, no freedom of choice. Our evolution stripped those things away for efficiency." Mike tossed a branch into the fire. "Maybe efficiency isn't the goal." She turned to him. "Then what is?" He met her eyes. "To feel alive." The words hit her like a pulse through her chest. She thought of the horse, the warmth of its breath, the trust in its movement, the thrill of surrender. For the first time in her life, she understood something not through data or science, but through experience. The discovery. Days passed. Every morning, she returned to the field to ride again. The other humans on the ranch whispered that the alien emissary was hooked. They weren't wrong. Alira felt something new each time: the rush of wind, the sound of hooves, the exhilaration of moving in perfect harmony with a creature so unlike herself. But one afternoon, as storm clouds gathered, something deeper stirred. Lightning cracked across the horizon, and the horse shied, rearing up. Alira's instincts screamed for control, but Mike's earlier words echoed in her mind. "You have to trust." Instead of pulling on the reins, she released them slightly, whispered softly in the horse's ear, and let go of her fear. The mare calmed, muscles relaxing under her grip. When the storm passed, Alira slid off the saddle, tears streaking down her face, tears she hadn't known she could shed. Mike approached quietly. "You okay?" She nodded shakily. "I felt everything. Fear, power, connection. It was chaos and yet beautiful," he offered. She exhaled, a trembling smile forming. "Yes, beautiful." He rested a hand on her shoulder. "That's what humans take for granted, Alira. Feeling. We get used to it. We forget how precious it is." She looked at him, truly looked at him. "You live every day surrounded by emotion, imperfection, and choice. We erased all of that. We thought we had evolved. But perhaps we only lost what mattered most." Ending. Weeks later, the Zephyrin Council summoned her back. The experiment was over. Her shuttle waited in orbit, ready to return her to a world where no one rode horses or laughed under the sun. Mike met her by the ranch gate. "So, this is goodbye?" "For now," she said, her voice soft but steady. "Your world has shown me something my kind has forgotten. Perhaps, someday, I will help them remember." He grinned faintly. "Just don't start a revolution." She smiled. "No promises." Before boarding the shuttle, Alira turned one last time to look at the open field. The horse she'd ridden stood near the fence, watching her. She reached out a hand, and the mare neighed softly, pressing her nose to Alira's palm. A spark of warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she would carry back across the stars. As the shuttle ascended, she whispered to herself, "Humans take for granted the simplest miracle to feel." And far above Earth's blue horizon, Commander Alira of Zephyra closed her eyes, a single tear falling freely, her final proof of humanity's most powerful gift.